that first open mic, it's funny. I actually went outside of the club. I never stepped in because the intensity of the fear is just so strong, right? I think that fear of public speaking is some people. I don't know if it's a statistic, but they put it over death. You know, it's paralyzing.
Jay, obviously I was excited to this podcast with you, but more than that, I actually want to get to know you better.
Yeah.
I got to know a little bit of the Jimba Slice at dinner at lunch the other day.
Can I curse on this? Fudge, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, I could.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking
the
best way to get to know someone is through being vulnerable. But this is a little bit more of a controlled setting, right? We're going to go through. I'm here today with Jimmy Zhang.
Hey.
Jimba Slice. Probably recognized him.
On YouTube.
Exactly. For your channel, for your podcast.
My podcast. I too have a podcast.
I would say if you enjoyed this, go check out his, because his is a little more free-flowing.
Yeah. Just, we don't have 36 questions to fall in love, but we do talk about, love.
See, that's...
dating, relationships.
What I'm excited to talk about too, but just like I'm a little afraid to just go out and drink, I'm a little afraid to do it without these. What I like about it, they're signposts, right?
Okay.
We use them as a reference, and we can go wherever.
Okay.
But it's always here to guide us back.
Okay. Fair.
It's all based off the study the New York Times wrote about it. They took these random couples of people, gave them these questions all around intimacy,
right,
reciprocity, vulnerability.
Right.
And at the end of it, many of those couples became friends with each other. And
friends
one of those couples,
or...
one couple did in fact end up dating each other and getting married.
More people should do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Stakes are high, Jimmy.
Okay.
We're going to get to know each other a little bit better.
I can't wait. Let's do it.
So we kick off with some intimate eye contact.
Oh.
Yeah, it's sort of like the warm-up,
All
right? You can't just go on hot and blazing, right? You got to do a little bit of that smooth easing in.
Okay. I'm here for the eye contact.
Yeah. So we're going to take a little bit of time. We're just stare deeply, soulfully in each other's eyes. And whoever looks away first or blinks, they have to draw the first question.
Blinks?
Yeah.
What if I want to draw the first card?
Well, then you can blink right away.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like next level gamesmanship. Are you ready?
Wait, hold on. Let me get all my blinks out.
I thought you said you wanted to blink.
No. This is a challenge. Hold on.
All right. I love how this just went from we're going to look at each other to like I'm going to win the staring contest.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Oh, it's on. All right. 3, 2, 1, go. Dry eyes, man.
Oh, there you go.
I already blinked. I already blinked.
First question.
Couldn't do it. The gaze was too strong. So level 1 questions, they're going to be me asking questions, asking you to guess things about me.
Okay.
Then we're going to go into level 2, where it's me guessing things about you.
Okay.
And level 3 is things about us together in the moment. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
All right, we're going to start with level 1. Finish the sentence. Just by looking at you, I think... Oh, I'm supposed to finish the sentence. All right. Just by looking at you, I think... When I look at you now, you have style, which I define as being yourself intentionally. You strike me as a man who really kind of knows what type of life he wants to live. You have that certain, just a croix, as the French say, a certain confidence. And the reason why I emphasize this is because I remember looking back at your earlier YouTube videos where like a baby college student and you got your backpack.
Yeah.
You're so young, so innocent, so uncertain. And I look at you now, you just are oozing. Oh yeah, I'm Jimmy Zhang.
Yeah.
I like that.
Because when you say style, right, I thought it was, no, like this. I came from the gym.
Yeah.
So definitely no fashion sense.
No, but I mean being yourself intentionally. And that's what I feel like you come out to this world, you're Jimmy. And if people like that, great. And if they don't, better you find out soon.
Absolutely. It's the best way to live life.
So I got to ask, here's the follow-up. That confidence, where did it come from? Something you had even when you were a little young kid? Even that college era, Jimmy, when I watched on that YouTube video, maybe it was there, I just didn't see it. Or is it something that you've cultivated over the past few years?
I would say confidence can be innate for some people.
Yeah.
But for me, it was definitely cultivated in learning, in my body.
Yeah.
And
I've seen the glow up, by the way.
Right.
On your Instagram. You've
Right.
gotten so in shape.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, you know, like if you go back like 6-7 years, I was skinny fat.
Yeah.
Like, skinny fat is probably the worst build, right?
Oh, totally.
Because you get the worst of both worlds, right? You're skinny, but then the tummy comes out.
Yes.
Right? If you're just skinny, maybe you could build some muscle. You might look a little like one of those e-boys.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like a look.
It's a look. But skinny fat, it's like I put on a shirt. So you
still got the pot belly.
I still got that protruding out of the shirt. And then, yeah, the Abercrombie, and like no H&M Abercrombie or Hollister was going to save me. And back then, like my fashion sense also was terrible.
Yeah.
Right. So these are exterior things that made me more confident. Right. So the gym made me look physically stronger, physically bigger. The fashion sense made me also look physically more appealing, attractive. Right. But then there was the internal confidence that I think I gained from learning, aka the books that I've read, the life experiences that I've gone through, the failures that I've gone through, right? And not only just the failures, but also the success with every little bit of success that I found in my career, in my life, in my job. I think it was stepping stones towards like building my confidence. And then confidence also comes from attracting a mate.
What's happened there?
I think for the longest time, it was a lot of fear, anxiety, especially if I was talking to a girl that I was attracted to, and not only was she attractive, but also like I could really have a good conversation with her. I could vibe with her, right? When those two are in sync, it I don't know what it does. It makes my voice quiver a little bit.
Yeah.
I stutter a little bit more.
All right.
I don't know why I do that, right?
Yeah.
But instinctively, it's just, I just made me kind of
tense up a bit.
Yeah. So I think all those things, like especially the girls part, that really like shattered my confidence for a little bit, because when you get friend zoned for long enough, you start feel maybe I can't do this.
Yeah.
Right.
You think you're not good enough, that you're not attractive.
Right. So, but that's the time that I actually spent back on myself.
Yeah.
So instead of figuring out how am I going to ask this girl out, I just started focusing on building both outer confidence and inner confidence. Right. So, spent a lot of time reading books, spent a lot of time trying different.
I remember you told me you took an acting class early in college, and they recommended a book, and you read that book, and it changed how you think. What was that book?
It was the book was called Talent Code.
Yeah.
And even before getting the book, the acting class itself was something very scary to me, very daunting, to walk into a small classroom where it's a class that's just is not recommended for, it's not it's not one of the gen eds like biology, I don't know, economics, or statistics. It's not one of the core classes that you should take in college. But that was something that I knew that I wanted to try something. It just made me want to do it. Right.
Yeah.
I've always felt like in high school I was kind of like a low key class clown. Right.
You're funny.
Yeah, I wasn't like the outwardly like, making jokes in front of the whole class, but like I would make jokes with a group of people around me in class, right? And then in college, like acting was just something I wanted to try out, and it was very scary just walking into that first class. I remember my heart was like it was racing as I was walking into that class.
Yeah.
And looking back on it now, I don't know why. Right? Because now I guess just trying something new, trying something uncomfortable, naturally you'll feel uncomfortable. But I remember just that feeling being very, very strong.
Yeah.
Back then.
I get that.
Yeah.
I took acting classes for the first time earlier this month.
Yeah.
Because I just never thought that I got to do this growing up, right? It's kind of like you were saying. You got your gen eds, you got the courses that you have to take to get a job. And now I can't indulge myself in acting. And I remember they asked me to perform a monologue, and I'm used to talking in front of people, right? But that felt naked. It was just like, I just start talking. Like, I probably sound stupid, don't I? And that is so in my head that it got in the way of me trying to bring to life this character.
Right.
And honestly, listening to you, what's insane is I look at your videos.
Yeah.
I imagine anyone watching those would be like, damn, this guy has no fear. He's confident. He's bold. He approaches people.
Right.
He's openly talking about his love life.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing from you, it's not you're the man with no fear.
No.
You're the man with so much fear that you learned to understand it and sit with it and move past it.
Yeah. I think fear was something that I've definitely observed. And I've had to, also a book that I've read in the span of like that learning phase of my life. This was from like freshman year of college all the way up until junior year, where I didn't really put myself out there. I didn't go to a lot of clubs or fraternities. A lot of my time I was spent like either watching anime or actually reading books.
Right.
And I know the two doesn't correlate. Like one is kind of like making me more of a loser, but the other one was kind of not a loser, but you know, it wasn't. I wasn't.
I'm a huge weeb. The way I see anime is escape.
Right.
You gotta have those moments where you're not stuck in your current life if you're not happy with it.
Right. So I guess the other side was me reading all these books, trying to improve my current life.
Yeah. So it's a moment. It's like you got to have both, right?
Yeah.
When you're not happy with where you're at, you have to have hope and inspiration for what's better out there. And then you got to think about, how do I get there myself?
Right. And sometimes the anime actually, some of these stories.
Oh, yeah.
It inspires you to try harder.
Oh, 100%.
Look at Naruto. Right? He came out look at Deku from My Hero Academia.
Let's talk about Naruto. I remember that scene, him sitting on the swings, the rest of the village. Yeah. And he's just alone, an outcast. Yeah. That hurts. Yeah. And then you see him become the village local hero.
Yeah, one of the greatest.
And that battle he had with Neji, my favorite, because the takeaway was, hey, to think that everything is preordained.
Right, not everything is, you can't win just based on talent.
Yes. It's not like we enter, this person's more talented. Right. Destiny is as it is, and there's nothing I can do.
Right.
To me, it was actually, I was like, wow, like Naruto, like, it helps you feel something. You're like, wait, no, what if I can actually work harder and be better? Yeah. And I think there's the second part. You said you had books, you had the talent code. That's one of the things you mentioned that help give you the tools. But in some ways, anime and manga helps give you the spark, the motivation to even want it in the first place,
Right. And although you sometimes you just watch it for mindless entertainment.
Oh, me too. 100%.
Right? You don't always have to just watch, how am I going to get inspired? Yeah. But sometimes it just creeps into your subconscious like, wait.
So you're saying Deku. Like what are the scenes when you look at anime and manga, you remember it's just like, God damn.
Deku from My Hero, he he was even more useless than Naruto. In the beginning of the show, he didn't have a quirk, and everybody has like a superpower in that show.
He sucks.
He sucks. And then he was this little guy, but you know, that show also taught me that mentors are really so crucial to your growth. And he had, I guess, the strongest superhero at the time, All Might. So I guess if I had to draw a parallel to real life, a lot of these books, like Tony Robbins, for example, right? A lot of his books struck a chord with me. Gary Vee at the time, he struck a chord with me. So these are, I guess, little mentors that you know, drop like little buckets of information into my head that lets me know what should my next move be.
What do you feel like were the biggest things you had to unlearn? Core assumptions you had of how the world worked.
Right.
And then you're reading from your mentors and you're like, what if I'm wrong? And what if I'm wrong? Thinking differently helps me be different. What were the biggest things you had to unlearn?
I think for one was the assumption that you need to get a job right after college. I think, you know, everybody's put on this path to go to college.
9 to 5.
9 to 5, get an internship. Like your junior year, you need to get an internship immediately. You have to.
Yes. Or you're screwed. You're a loser.
Everybody else is getting a job.
You're not going to get a job. What's wrong with you?
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody else is getting internships. Everybody else is getting jobs.
Yeah.
If you don't do it by junior year, you're going to be behind.
You are one step permanently behind everybody else.
Exactly. And that's kind of that was the path that my parents were kind of painting me, like, oh, I need to. Yeah. So like they said, I applied to a couple like marketing interns. I was a communications major.
Yeah.
Right. But then I remember this Gary Vee clip. I think it was on Facebook at the time, and I remember this very vividly because it struck such a chord in me. It was like, if you're between the ages of 22 to 26, like this is your time. This is the time for you to live with like 4 roommates. He curses, 4 roommates, and you need to just eat ramen noodles and just grind because this is when you don't have the pressures of a family, of a wife, a kid, right? Between the ages of 22 to 27, like this is your time. And I don't have the responsibilities of older, you know, when you're actually an adult. And I have to be responsible for more people than myself. And he's right.
Yeah.
This is the time. Like, what else in the timeline of my life will I have a freedom to actually do what I want? I mean, truthfully, you could do it at any time.
Sure.
Truthfully, at any point in your life, you could quit your job and do what you want.
It's always a choice.
Right. But that age window that Gary said was, I think, is the most optimal because you have the most energy, you have the least amount of responsibilities, and just being that age, you're young, you're energetic, you less responsibilities, and like college debt is hard if you have, but if like me, I didn't have any debt, so I guess it was just the pressure of my parents. It was like it was mentally hard, but it was all mental. There wasn't nothing physically stopping me.
So you saw that clip. I feel, on the one hand, you've grown up with your parents who have almost taught you how to even be a human being.
Right.
And now you're realizing, hey, I want to be someone different. You see this clip from Gary Vee. Like, what happens next? Is it like tomorrow, the next day? Or does it sit? Does it simmer? Does it build?
No, I remember that one clip was a clip that pushed me to like, I think it was make a YouTube channel, and also I started doing stand-up comedy.
Wow.
Like stand-up, not immediately I'm telling jokes in front of a crowd.
Sure.
I'm doing open mics
Learning,
around New York
practicing.
City. Right. And I thought that was a good way to kind of, I guess, sharpen my skill set of just like being funny, I guess.
Yeah.
In front of strangers, and that was very daunting. It was like I was doing jokes. I was first of all I was learning how to just speak in front of people.
I
Like
get
that alone is you have to get that over that hurdle for you to just speak properly with a microphone in front of strangers. So after a couple rounds of that, then it's like I'm trying to figure out what's funny, what's not, because that's a whole science of like how to make people laugh.
Yeah, you got to get the reps in. You literally got to learn how to stand in front of a group of people,
Right.
be comfortable,
Right.
talk with them,
Right.
before you can even focus and care about what you're saying.
Exactly. And that was, I only did it for a month.
Yeah.
Before I realized things might be a little easy on YouTube.
All right.
So I think, but going back to what you said, was there anything else that like simmered in my head?
Yeah, because like I imagine you watching this video, and to go back to this original question, when I look at you, I see a self-made man. From what you described,
Yeah.
being afraid,
Yeah.
being stuck in a route you didn't like, not feeling good about how you looked, being afraid to talk to women,
Right.
now to who you are today. But I'm seeing this in-between stage. You watch the Gary Vee clip. You start to do stand-up comedy. You're at your first open mic.
Right.
I assume what? You start going to the gym, you start doing your first YouTube videos?
No. So the gym started first.
Okay.
The gym started first. I started transforming my body little by little, and I started seeing some packs,
Yeah, you're seeing changes.
right? And then along the same timeline, I'm also reading the books. Not just Gary, but there was like some Tony Robbins quotes that's like stuck with me. Rich Dad Poor Dad was another great
Kiyosaki.
book that kind of made me unlearn some things that was taught by my parents.
What did you feel like you had to unlearn from there?
Their way of thinking about life and specifically career.
Like you just got to go and you got to work.
Right. And that I think that's the biggest takeaway from the book is right. You go and work for a salary.
Yeah, you'll never really get that level.
Yeah, and then just over the years, I learned that what's even worse about the salary is first of all you get taxed.
Yeah.
You get and then after the tax, you have an amount that you got to spend for living expenses.
Yeah.
And if you're living in major cities, like that gets pretty high. And so yeah, just the equivalent of training 40 hours a week for that set amount. It's how much money do you really at the end of the day?
Yeah, you're putting yourself to work so hard, and for what?
And it's like the worst part is it probably is something that you don't even care about.
Right. You're doing it because you need the paycheck.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get it. It's a cycle.
And I remember going on these job interviews being asked, "Oh, what would you like to contribute to the Truthfully, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
get paid.
Yeah, I want my money. I don't give two shits about this company. Yeah. Because why am I here? Because my parents told me to apply for this.
Yeah, but you did give two shits about yourself.
I gave 10.
A lot.
I gave a hand.
Well, one might say you even gave many about yourself.
I gave quite an abundant,
So
a copious amount of about myself.
So what I gotta ask is, man, to make all of these changes,
Right.
dude, you had to be fighting demons, man. What is driving? What is motivating? Because every step, what you said, that first open mic,
Right.
that's hard.
Right.
That's scary.
Right.
What was pushing you through?
That first open mic, I remember I've went to, it's funny, I actually went outside of the club. I never stepped in, right? So there was even a couple times where I've kind of just walked past the open mic or like walked past the comedy clubs like, oh,
Yeah.
do this.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you were like, hey, I want to go in. You walk in, and you're like, I can't. You just walk
And I
on
walked
by.
out.
Yo, that's this intensity.
Yeah, because
You feel it.
the intensity of the fear is just so strong, right?
Yeah.
And I think I think that fear of public speaking is some people. I think I don't know if it's a statistic, but they put it over death.
Oh, I've seen that as well. Yeah.
You know, it's paralyzing. It's
Because it's vulnerability, right? When you speak up in public, you're saying to everyone, hey, look at me. I have something
interesting
worth
to say.
sharing.
Right.
And God, I hope I don't let you down. I've drawn all this attention to myself. I pray I have something worth sharing.
Right.
That's scary.
It is.
Put yourself out there. So you're in this comedy club. I just picture you. Multiple times you've walked past the intensity of your fear. It's debilitating. It's paralyzing. But that last time you step in, you walk up, you start your jokes.
Oh, I don't even know if you call it jokes.
Yeah? What was the routine?
It was, I was talking about trauma.
Yeah.
I think I was talking about my my dad getting cancer.
Yeah.
And how he blamed it on me. Because we were getting into these fights all the time, and it was from all this. But I don't think that's how you catch cancer from.
No, also
from stress.
He's your dad. You're his son. He's coming to you and saying, "I have cancer because you keep up, and I'm mad at you."
Right. Like I don't think that's the symptoms, or like I don't think that's how you catch
Jimmy,
it.
You're not responsible for giving your dad cancer.
I'm not. Right?
But when you're a kid and you hear your dad say that.
Yeah. You know how ridiculous this sounds to white people?
But
everybody laughed.
You were a kid, and so you're just going and sharing it, and people are just like, "Oh my God, this guy, the stories he comes up with, so funny." And
it's just ridiculous. Yeah.
And you're just sitting there, and you're like, "This is my life."
Yeah, this is actually my dad.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think that was something I talked about. I also threw in a couple jokes in there.
Right, for good measure. Yeah, for good measure. You know, you
Of
gotta
course,
mix
of
up the tone.
course,
You know, you
of
talk
course.
about your dad blaming you for getting cancer, and then
Right.
throwing a couple
Yeah,
jokes.
yeah. Maybe I would probably warm them up with some jokes,
Yeah.
and then it would be like, oh, you know what else is sad? And then that would probably transition to the dad story.
I feel when you share what happened,
Yeah.
that's part of you now beginning to own the narrative. It's
Right.
like, hey, this isn't just happened to you. Now you're getting to tell it.
Right.
And you go up, you say this,
Yeah.
people laughing.
Yeah.
What was
But
that like?
at the same time, it was people. I liked it because it was. I don't know if it's validation or if it's, but it probably is validation that I'm being funny. And I remember I always loved that feeling, even as back in high school when I was just cracking jokes. But then now I'm doing it in front of, I guess, with higher stakes, with lights shine on my face, with a microphone, strangers watching. That laugh, it's feels good.
Maybe you have something that's worth it. Talent.
Maybe. But I think at that same time is when I also just realized the daunting, I guess, journey of being a stand-up comic is pretty. It's hard. You have to continuously do these open mics
Over
for
and over.
years, and make connections in the city. You have to do at least a couple a day.
Wow.
For you to eventually get better, right? And I felt like at the time there was like there was an opportunity on the internet to also be funny and also make a bag.
So you got a taste of it, and you're like, well, I found a different way I can do this.
Right, exactly. And for me, it was I did it through, I guess, sharing experiences with strangers instead of, I guess, with stand-up comedy, it was me to, a crowd of people.
Yeah, people you see.
Whereas maybe for my videos at the time, it was it was me to one stranger.
Right. You just walk up to them.
I just walk up to them, maybe overshare my life story a little bit.
Yeah.
But then that is the entertaining aspect of it, right? It is, you know, why am I oversharing with a stranger? And then I found it, I got them to share about their life. And I think that was my first video that blew up was me talking about Asian Americans getting their ass whipped growing up.
Yeah,
right.
I got whipped once as a kid too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not fun.
Oh, just once?
Just once.
Oh, let's see.
Sounds like for you it's more than just once.
Yeah, so mine was it was a routine. Yeah, it's nice at the over the
Eric
household.
just once.
Just
but for you, regular, huh?
Yeah. One time I went to the hospital.
Yeah.
And that was, I shared that in the video too. I think that's why I think it got shared so much on Facebook. A lot of people related to it.
Because I'm going to put it this way. There are a lot of people who go through experiences. There are a lot of people who go and get hit. But how many people are able to go and share that and try and make something out of it?
Right.
That's even harder.
Right. And I think I saw it as, I saw it. So at this point in my life, I've already gotten over a lot of fears.
Yeah.
And I've already kind of, you compare me now to when I first started YouTube, you see a difference, right? But even from when I first started YouTube to that freshman year of college, when I first stepped into the acting class, there was like another huge difference in confidence and demeanor and style, as you put it, right?
So today, do you feel like you're where you're going to be, or do you feel like, no, actually, hey, there's a lot you're still working on?
There's always more. There's always more that I'm until the day I die.
What are you working on now?
Podcasting, being a better host, being a better speaker. I think for most of my YouTube career, I've always had the luxury of chopping it up with a stranger. Sure, I go up to them, but I'm a lot of the times. Maybe but
you're vamping,
right. And then I get the luxury of chopping that up and cutting out all my stutters, all my blunders, and packaging it into
beautiful little
a nice little video,
a gem,
right? But little do they know there's 30 cuts in there, right? Whereas a podcast now, I'm planning to live stream it soon, and
so it's really just you unfiltered,
me unfiltered, and for an hour straight, I'm trying to keep people's attention for that long, but not just me, but also being a better host with a guest that I bring on, right? And I have a set amount of questions for each guest that's kind of tailored for them.
Wow.
And that way I think I could get the best interaction out of them, and they could talk about their experiences, and we could kind of bounce off each other's energies and conversation.
Man, you work hard.
So
you work hard.
I like to, because I know what life is like when I'm not working hard, and it sucks.
Let's do another question. This time it's your turn.
Okay.
It's pretty meaningful off of just one. Let's do level 2. You do the honors this time.
Let's see here what we got. You answer this.
Yeah, you're asking the question.
What's your father's name, and tell me one thing about him?
So, my father is Chinese. He's from Shanghai. He grew up dirt poor, learned English from the streets, made it over to America because he was like, and then Canada, I don't know, he's like top 10 in China in chemistry or some crazy thing.
Yeah.
His Chinese name is Wei Wei. Of course, different pronunciations on each, right? And the funny thing, though, is in America, my last name's W-E-I. We pronounce it Wei.
Mm.
So in America, he was Wee Wee.
Mm.
Mr. Wee Wee. Doesn't quite flow off the tongue right.
Mm.
So he changed it. His first name, his Americanized first name is Alex. Because, of course, I don't know if you've noticed this, but many of us, when our parents came from East Asian countries, China, Korea, Japan,
Right.
our children, we give them Americanized names
Yeah.
to help them fit in.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you look at Southeast Asian, Indian, for example,
Right.
they don't do that.
Right.
I have many friends who have names given them their parents, like Avesh
Right.
and Vinay.
Right. Tanvir.
Exactly. And what's remarkable, it's not like there's a great council of East Asian parents who sat down to say, no, we're gonna name our kids Kevin and Jimmy and Eric.
Right.
It's not like there's a big Indian conference where they say, no, we're actually gonna keep the names the way there is.
Yeah.
It just worked out that way. And I think it speaks to a big part of our culture has always been, hey, you gotta like fit in, put your head down,
Right.
and work hard. If that means giving you a name to match,
Right.
we're gonna do it. And so, yeah, he goes by Alex now. And I'm Eric. And you and I, honestly, if we were in a different place, maybe where our parents came from, we probably would have different names.
I mean, no, I have a Chinese name.
What's your Chinese name?
Zhang Yiming.
So is that your actual name?
My Chinese name, yeah.
Your birth certificate?
Well, my I have my birth certificate, yeah.
So you actually, on your birth certificate, have your Asian name, but then has anyone in your life called you that, or has it mainly been Americanized?
My, I guess, old childhood friends.
Yeah.
All my close friends know about my Chinese name, so.
How did you decide on Jimmy?
In college,
Yeah.
in high school, I've had people call me Jimmy, but in college is when I made a new Facebook account, new Instagram, and just started going by Jimmy like fully. And when I got my citizenship naturalized, because I wasn't born here,
Where were you born?
I was born in China. And when I got my citizenship naturalized, I just changed it to
So you are Jimmy now.
yes. On everything.
If you had a
But hey, this is not about me. This is
so one thing about him, yeah, so my dad, he worked really, really hard.
mm-hmm.
And that's for a long time. That's why I wanted to be just like him, right?
Mhm.
It's a sense of obligation. And then I realized the best way to honor the spirit of what he wanted was not to follow the letter of what he wanted.
Okay.
To actually make the most out of my life, I had to be able to do my own thing, which is different from what he technically wanted me to do.
Mm.
Right? Because deep down, I know my dad loves me. He wants me to have a happy, successful life. And yet, by following the advice he gave me, which was just go work in finance, who cares if it fulfills you? It's a well-paying job. I would have been miserable.
Right.
So I had to learn how to distance and follow my own path and desires. Ironically, that's the way I actually honor him, by not listening to him.
Yeah. Did your dad always push you to do finance?
So my dad started off, aforementioned point of him being really smart. He was a nuclear physicist.
Mm.
Not a lot of dummies in that industry.
No, I wouldn't know.
No, I really hope there aren't, because they're, nuclear, pretty dangerous.
Right. You don't want to just, yeah.
Exactly. And he switched jobs because he's like a government scientist. He's making like 20, 30K a year. It wasn't enough to support a family. He moved to the States and...
Well, they're paying $30K for people to handle nuclear weapons?
Oh, yeah. He was like a government scientist, but not paying well.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's why he moved to Indiana and he looked for a job. Like, no one had like taught him English. He just learned it himself. He's really good at math and numbers. He just tried to find something around finance.
Right.
And finally, initially found a job like in insurance, just like crunching numbers. And so for him, I think he didn't work on Wall Street. I think he really hoped that his son would, because he saw the potential and growth in this industry.
Yeah.
And in some ways, genuinely thought that was the best path and wanted me to take it. So for me, growing up, we never talked about the birds and the bees. And this is a literal use of the word literally, without exaggeration. We literally talked about getting into Harvard, becoming an investment banker, the world economy,
Yeah.
and finance. I learned what a discounted cash flow, a DCF model was before I ever learned about
How to
talk to girls or how to. I remember my neighbors one time inviting me to go toss around a football with them. And I was like, oh, I'd love to, but like, I don't know how. I'm a little self-conscious. I remember them being like, no, like in their heads, I'm sure they're thinking, how bad could he possibly be?
Right.
And I was so bad. I knew so little about how football worked and let alone like trying to catch a ball. I remember my friend's dad actually got frustrated at me because of how bad I was. Like, I'm like a kid. I'm like 10 years old or whatever. I've never even done this before. And this grown man is just like angry at how bad I am. And the main thing I just felt, now I look back and I'm like, dude, neighbor's dad, like chill. Right? But at the time, I just remember feeling like really scared and just like guilty.
Maybe
and
he was like a football coach.
No, he wasn't. It's just his pickup, right? Because he played this with his son every single week and they were good.
Right.
And I just remember feeling scared and guilty and ashamed and then annoyed at my dad. And I was like, well, I wish he had taught me this. And I'm like, well, how could he have? He didn't grow up here.
Right.
But,
I wanted to be part of a baseball team.
Yeah.
And there's no Asians playing baseball. But yeah, I wanted my parents to enroll me in a baseball team. Just because I like watching it. I wanna hit a ball with a bat.
Yeah. How old were you?
Like 10.
Okay.
11. But yeah, just ended up playing video games.
Did they ever enroll you?
No.
What did they say? They're just like, no.
It was just I forgot what it was. Maybe it was money. Maybe they didn't know where, because baseball is kind of
you gotta have fields. Yeah.
Right. It's like
go to a place.
you gotta have friends who might tell you where to enroll, and because my parents were immigrants, they barely knew how to even go sign up for a gym membership, let alone sign me up for a baseball team.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of both, language barrier and
sort of the combination of, like, I wish that my dad had taught me how to catch a football. You wish your parents enrolled you in baseball. Right. And then we talked through why. And it's like this very tricky emotion where it's like, well, what are they going to do?
Right. With the resources that they had, they couldn't.
What were they going to do? They did the best they could. Yeah. And from my perspective, your perspective, it still sucked.
Yeah, but it's just...
But they did the best they could.
Yeah.
Sort of a weird two types of feelings to hold.
Right.
So, yeah, my dad, he really wanted me to get into finance, get into banking, because it's something that was working for him. And yeah, I think the one thing I share, he's really, really smart. Continues to be... I don't know if I've ever met a person smarter than he was. Like, again, I said this 5 minutes ago. I was saying he literally learned to read English from like school books, like dumped on the trash. Like his parents were heavy laborers and machinists.
Right.
And he made it out here. And no, there's a lot of things I don't agree about with him at all. But I have to respect that.
Like what?
Hey, he was really smart. He worked really hard. He came from nothing. And the life I have, me getting to sit here, you and now, getting to focus on existential self-fulfillment and things I care about.
Right. It's the fact
that
he even took the leap to move out here to the States.
I bet it was really scary.
Right. And he probably did it for you.
I bet in large part.
Yeah. And, he probably heard it from his friends how much opportunities there are in America compared to China.
Yeah.
Right. And look in the world right now, then it's true. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think just even let alone America. Right. We're in LA.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we have girls making careers off of OnlyFans.
100%.
You think this is possible in China?
No.
So it's just the opportunities just gets vastly crazier you know,
They laid the foundation.
they did.
And again, as much as I don't agree with them, and a lot of the frustration of fights I went through, I acknowledge that.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm internally grateful for.
Same.
My parents.
Well, now I gotta ask you, what's your dad's name, and tell me one thing about him.
So I'll just say his Chinese name,
Yeah.
Zhang. One thing about my dad. I was gonna do something superficial, like he likes a garden.
That's fine.
But no, I want to do something a little bit
Sure.
deeper. Ooh, I have a good one. I hope he never watches this. He has a big ego.
Yeah.
He has a huge ego in the sense that he never admits he's wrong.
Oh yeah, I think I experienced that with my dad too. Yeah.
So whenever, I guess, when we plant an argument against him, maybe me or my mom or just, you know, whatever the case may be. This is the best example. Just my career, my entire life, right? It's like a living example of, you know, oh, hey, Dad, maybe the things that you were telling me growing up, they're not true. You were wrong. The things that you were telling, everything that I'm doing now goes completely against everything that he taught me growing up.
And yet you're doing it.
Yet I'm doing it. I'm making more money than he probably ever envisioned for me to make. And doing it at, you know, it's just, I think even now, a lot of his friends, sons, daughters, they say, you know, they tell him like, oh, I saw your son on YouTube. I saw, you know, I'm a big fan of your, you know, what
tell
your
him
son is
this
doing,
is really cool.
what your son's doing, right? And then all this stuff would have never happened had I followed him. His teaching, whatever, he wanted me to do engineering, architecture, something like that. I tried it. I did it. I tried it a little bit in high school, realized it wasn't for me. And yeah, he was very aggressively pushing me to do certain chase certain career paths that just, you know, and I just remember him being super frustrated whenever I brought like a B- home. Like I was a straight B student like across my life, and every time I brought back a report card, I had like a 70-something, 80-something. I just see the disappointment just start stretching across. You know, it's just like how does one person get disappointed so quickly? I just see it immediately, right? And you know, those weren't good feelings, right?
Yeah.
And had I continued to, I guess, follow his footsteps, I wouldn't be here today, right? Yeah. But let's just say, even the editing program that I was editing. So back in high school, I used to edit these Call of Duty montages.
Yeah.
And at the time, to him, it was the biggest waste of time, right? What are you doing editing people shooting each other? A video game? What are you doing that for? You're like spending hours on end editing these things when you could be doing homework.
Get
right?
your grades up, Jimmy. Yeah.
And now when I first started YouTube, I was that one editing all my videos.
Thank God you learned how to do it.
Thank God I learned how to edit. from those Call of Duty montages. That he said it was a waste of time.
And that, ironically, is what helped you be who you are now.
Exactly. And I, if I was to bring these things up to him, hey, he has nothing to say.
Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, I think the ego comes in when he thought he was so right for the longest time.
Yeah. And
even now, when I bring these things up, he'll still find ways to like argue. Oh, but like, I always believed in you. Some.
Yeah.
But he would never be like, okay, son, I was wrong.
You were right. I was wrong.
That would never come out of his mouth. Yeah, but so that among like a bunch of other things, it's he would always find something to say, to explain.
Yeah.
He would never go. I've realized that's an extreme case. I also see people just in my day to day who don't admit fault and don't admit.
Right.
But I think Asian dads, my dad specifically, it took that to the 10th degree, like tenfold on the high ego. I'm not wrong.
It's so funny you mentioned that. You've never heard him say, you were right and I was wrong.
Never.
Because when you said that, I thought to myself, oh yeah, my dad's never said that before either. And even more than that, Jimmy, I realized, and I never even like thought about the fact that he never would. Like it was so far outside the bounds and scope of possibility for me. It's not even, I was like, oh, I wish he would say that he like never has. It was like, oh, I literally like never even considered the fact that he's never said that. Like I'm not thinking about like, oh, like, I don't know, like maybe giraffes like to run around the Sahara Desert. Like, it's just something, it was never even in my imagination. And now I'm like, yeah, actually never really said that either. And at this point, I've given up.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think he will.
There's no need to convince it. I realize that there's so much life outside of my parents, and I guess living in that household, they you were bound by their rules. You had to listen to them. You saw them every day, but then after college, you have the choice and freedom to live your life.
The distance actually helps me fight and be closer. The distance actually helps me be closer with them in a way because I'm not just there trying to live under their rules.
Right, exactly. So in a way, you're not forced to be with them. So when you do see them, it's more of a it's a less stressful time.
I remember when I was thinking through Karat, very stressful time. I remember my dad mentioned to me, coming from like a very genuine place, he wasn't trying to be mean. He's just like, why would anyone ever give you money for this or anything?
Yeah.
I remember when I became an Instagram product manager, my dad, again, from a very similar place of concern, was like, why would anyone listen to you? You didn't study computer science. When I switched into consulting from being an investment banker, his number one question was, why would anyone listen to you? Explain. Every single step. Again, not from a place of like, he wasn't trying to be mean. He was like genuinely like, why would people like...
Oh, but you proved him wrong. You proved him.
Well,
you showed him why.
See, Jimmy, that's the internalized self-voice. I'm like, well, that's fair. I don't know if I really was a good consultant, a good product manager. I don't know if Karat will succeed. Right. And it's not until we IPO that I can definitively go back and be like, no, actually, I think I was right. And now, is that rational? I don't know. But that's the internalized, right? It's kind of, I just, when you said you're going to your dad and just to see that disappointment, it's like, man, our parents, right? When we're growing up, that's the people we care about most in this world. It's the people we want to approve and love us. And I think every time you go through and you feel like you're disappointing them, yeah, it just hurts.
Right.
So let's do level 3. I think we're ready.
All right.
What parts of yourself do you see in me?
Parts of myself do I see in you?
Yes.
I think because we both grew up with immigrant parents,
Yeah.
I think I see a lot of the amount of fear and anxiety that
Yeah.
living under, I guess, a Chinese immigrant household, what that has done to us in childhood, and the kind of things that we had to do to overcome and climb out of that, despite a lot of the childhood upbringings.
Yeah. Jimmy, you shared how you reinvented yourself.
Right.
I did that too. I had to college. I started working out. Started trying to learn how to talk to people, not just women, just friends, period.
Yeah.
Also took classes in swing dancing and improv and stand-up.
Swing dancing?
Yeah, all of the things, man. Because I was trying to learn how to be a human being, you know?
Yeah.
I found, for me, stand-up never was that thing that really, I think, inspired me as much, but it was just the concept of, I can just go and speak to people and they'll listen. Right, public speaking. Yeah. I learned. I took classes. I took lessons. I became a speaking coach myself because I saw it as a tool. When I'm afraid and I don't know how to talk, I can fall back on my training.
Right.
Even if I'm nervous and panicked, if you put me in front of a crowd, I know enough. It's internalized enough in me where I can still just go out and talk and not sound terrified.
Funny enough, you reminded me of a little moment back in my senior year of high school when I had to give a class presentation. It was stand up in front of a class and just present what you learned. I even had note cards to remind me of the things to say. I couldn't even do that. What, like, compared, like, people now would not believe the story. Like, I literally, I went up to the class, I looked, I can't do this. I'd rather you fail me, because I'm gonna butcher, I'm gonna stutter, and I'm gonna sound so stupid. I'm not even gonna form coherent sentences. Why am I up here? The fear is so powerful. I can't. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna sit back down. I walked up. I went and sat back down. And yeah, it's public speaking is very, it'd be very scary for a lot of people.
I feel like for me, I grew up so worried about doing something wrong and getting disapproval.
Yeah.
That's why I tried to make sure if I was going to do it, I was going to do it right, or just don't try at all.
Right.
Which is not good. I've been unlearning that. I think if I were to answer this question, I think I see the pain and the sorrow. But I also, in a weird way, get to feel better about myself because listening to you, I'm like, you've made so much of yourself. In a weird way, it's much easier for me to see and recognize what you've done and you've accomplished than it is for me to feel the same about myself. But if I can see that in you, I feel that in myself too.
You've done great, Eric. You've done great.
You too. Whew. Let's do one more and we'll call it, yeah?
Okay, let's do it.
I think it's your turn to choose this time.
Any.
Level 3, baby. Let's bring it home.
Can I pick another one?
You can pick another one.
Okay.
These are meant as helpful prompts, not as necessarily.
Okay. What do I need to hear right now?
What do you need to hear right now? I don't know if you need to hear it, but I feel so much love and appreciation and respect for you as a human being. Hearing what you've experienced and what you've done to improve yourself from that. I think it's beautiful. Really.
Thank you. Likewise.
All right, give me a hug.